to have another chat. And this is, I think, our third week together, changing sort of my podcast format to be a little bit more casual in the summertime and just kind of hang out in my backyard. So last week I was kind of facing this way. And so now you get a view at the vegetable garden. My potatoes are growing well, some little flowers over here. And then that little pathway leads to a second vegetable garden. So I got some questions this week, which I love when people email me or message me or text me questions because I think it just gives, I want to talk about what you want to know. Like, what do you want to know about me? Or let's just talk about some things. So I got 5 questions today. So I have them written down. So we're going to go through. So the first question came through my Facebook page. And the question is, do you miss working so much? And initially, my answer to that would be yes. I absolutely miss working in assisted living. I miss the hustle. I miss even the commuting at times. I miss seeing so many people in a week's time, like literally being in front of anywhere from 45 to 60 people who live with neurological changes. And that could be anything from a brain injury to dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all of that. I do miss that. I miss what they gave to me and to my life, and just the wisdom of elderly people is something that you can't get from any other population. Like it's just, I do miss that. I miss working. I miss serving, but I have had my moments of extreme sadness and grief over losing what I had worked so hard for 18 years to create and to build. I've been my sad times, and then I've realized like I really love my life. Hey Eric, I love the pace in which my life is now currently. I'm working a little bit in assisted living. I go into 7 homes just locally. So I'm still getting that fix of being in front of people who are living in assisted living with neurological changes. I'm still getting to serve, but my life is a totally different pace. So there are parts of it that I miss. I miss the volume of people that I get to share my life with. I miss time in the car listening to music or podcasts. I miss knowing that I'm making a difference. Hi, Monica. I miss that. I don't miss the so much output of energy. It was just too much. And so I love my life now. I love that I'm still getting to work. I'm teaching weekly in my studio. I have a lot of digital stuff that I'm working on. I'm revamping my website, my blogs, everything will be like a one-stop shop. So there are things that I have now space in my life for, and that feels really good. So do I miss working as much? Yes and no. I would say more on the no side these days. All right, next question. Favorite thing to grow in the garden? And who taught me? Who taught me how to garden? My favorite thing to grow is not cucumbers, even though last week we talked a lot about cucumbers. I think I like green beans because they're fun. They race up the pole. They have a beautiful white flower. It's constant. Once they start blooming and producing, it's just a daily picking, and I like that. I guess you could say I like to be successful in green beans. You can't go wrong with growing green beans. And the person who taught me how to garden was my dad. And one of the things I remember about my dad was him teaching me how to put green beans in a row, which if you listened last week, I giggle a lot because I put my green beans in a row and then the squirrels transfer the beans all over my yard. But I just remember that time with my dad. He worked a lot too. He was a very driven man, and he would just lay the beans in a row and then cover them up and pat them. And so he taught me how to do that. And I think he taught me just the presence and patience of gardening. I would say I like things that are easy to grow because I like to feel successful. And in Colorado, we have this big of a growing window. So it has to be something that's going to produce quickly. I like strawberries. I think they're fun. I don't love growing corn, even though I plant every year because I just don't have a hot enough space. So I get these little tiny little corn cobs and they're useless. I guess the squirrels like them. Um, Brussels sprouts is fun. I had no idea how to grow Brussels sprouts, but last year I planted them, and it's fun to see. the plant gets really tall, and in the center stalk is where the little tiny Brussels sprouts go. And I love that. I think that's just joyful. All right. Daily routine. We've talked about this before on podcasts, but my daily routine, it varies now a lot, because I have more space in my day, but my daily routine is pretty much the same from early morning until midday. So in the morning, the very first thing I do is put headphones in my head, which I know some people are going to blast me about that I shouldn't wear headphones all the time. And I don't wear them all the time, but I put them in my head first thing in the morning, and I turn on guided meditations or affirmations, and I literally listen to positive messages for 45 to 60 minutes. That's how I begin my day, and I drink coffee. And then I usually in the summertime will come out here, and my second cup of coffee, I'm usually watering or pruning or picking or talking to my plants. And then I go for a walk, and then I will get ready for my day, whatever that looks like, depending on the day. If I'm teaching, then I do some planning for that. If I have physical therapy, then I get ready for that. And then I usually work until about 12. And then I take another walk generally midday, grab a sandwich, walk as I eat. And then I work in the afternoon on my computer. So I spend a lot of time on my computer, a lot of time writing, creating, planning, um, just all the things that go into running your own business, budgeting, all that. So my day is pretty much the same as far as routine wise. I listen to goodness, I walk, I work, I walk, I work. And then my evening routine in the summer is I spend time in the garden because it's cooler outside than it is in my house. I don't have air conditioning, so it gets really hot by the end of the day. And then I usually take a cold shower, like a cool shower or a cool bath, which prepares my overheated body for a good sleep. In the winter, I'm not out in the garden, so I will typically in the evening read a book or listen to a podcast, maybe watch a show, and then take a bath. I think that process of not just like functionally cleaning your body, but just that ritual. I think rituals are a long lost craft that we've forgotten about. So I do try to create rituals, and that part of the morning ritual is listening to positive messages going in my brain. And it might be that I'm working on my iPad planning my week. It might be that I'm doing a jigsaw puzzle on my iPad, but I'm getting an hour of positive input into my brain before I do anything else. Like the first thoughts that enter in, the first input that comes into my brain is positive, hopeful, grace filled thoughts. And that has set me up for success for years. And it's something I just truly believe in. I think everybody should, the first input that you get shouldn't be scrolling social media, it should be positive thoughts. So that's really, really important to me. And then as far as like daily routine of eating, I'm not a great eater. I struggle with that, and I go in waves. Like I do a week's worth of food prep, and I'm good and I'm eating well and eating variety of stuff, and then I get bored and I just don't feel like doing it, and then for that week I struggle. I'm eating protein bars and not the greatest. So if I could say anything about a daily routine is make it ritual, make the process of brewing coffee a ritual. Whatever you put in your coffee, let it be what you want it to be because it tastes good and not because you feel like you have to do something or you shouldn't do something. Like I think if you enjoy something like coffee, it should be something you enjoy fully. And then being consistent with affirmations or meditation, I think is a true game changer. So my daily routine is that movement and affirmations are probably my top two priorities in my life every single day. I do have a general daily yoga practice. It's either in a chair or out on my deck in the summer. It's not long, maybe 5-10 minutes, just to move my body, feel, kind of tune in where I'm at, especially on training days. I like to be able to go into my physical therapy functional training sessions to um, to be aware of what's showing up in my body. Thanks, Eric. You too. All right. Next question. Number 4. Am I vegan? No. I used to be vegetarian. I was vegetarian for, I think, 4 years. When I first became a yoga teacher, I thought that was part of the criteria of being a yoga teacher is that you had to be vegetarian because we think about, you know, the the yamas of yoga, which is that philosophy that we live by, which is one of them being ahimsa, which is non-harming. And so translated as a new yoga teacher, non-harming would be we don't eat animals. And for many people, that is a philosophy that they hold true. I feel that after being vegetarian for 3 years and being the sickest, unhealthiest that I was, it wasn't for me. And I gained a lot of weight. I probably wasn't being a good vegetarian. I was eating a lot of processed soy products like my kids called it poser meat because I would put together tacos for dinner. My kids were young and it was made with soy meat and it was all processed crap. And so I just feel like I was eating a bunch of processed crappy food and I wasn't truly embodying the non-harming of my own body. I was putting into my body very harmful foods because I didn't know what I was doing. I just had this like cloud about me that I was a yoga teacher and I was vegetarian and I was not harming animals. But I missed the point in that I was harming myself because I was eating junk. I also ate a lot of grains, and grains for me are very inflammatory. And so I didn't have that awareness or that connection to what I was consuming was actually harming my body. So I really looked at that philosophy, that guideline that we live our lives around harming, and how can I eat mindfully? How can I eat in a non-harming way meat? Or eggs or dairy. I don't eat dairy, a lot of dairy. I have cream in my coffee, but a general rule, I'm not a huge dairy person. And so when I do eat meat, like last night I had a glorious ribeye. I get high quality meat. I make sure that the meat that I'm getting, the animals have been treated as best an animal could be treated that's going to be butchered. And I bless what I'm about to eat. I bless the life that was living at one time for me to eat and and I do it mindfully and I do it in a way that's aware, and I think my body has really responded well to eating meat. So I was really young way back then, way back when I was vegetarian, and I was cocky and I was arrogant and I was obnoxious and I would shame people for eating meat, and I was a mess. I was a mess, and I was figuring out who I was, and I thought, if you're going to teach yoga, you have to be vegetarian. And I took it all the way to the end. And I remember coming over to my mom's house for a barbecue and just being absolutely obnoxious about the fact she was eating ribs. And now I love ribs. Like ribs are my favorite thing in the world to eat. So we live and learn, we grow, we mature, we realize everybody has their own choice, and you don't have to fall into what culture. And the yoga culture is very much geared towards you have to be a certain thing, you have to be a certain size, you have to teach Sanskrit, you have to teach people how to stand on their head, you have to do all the nonsense that we think yoga teacher culture embodies. And you have to go through that. I think most yoga teachers go through phases where they think they have to do those things and in order to be authentic, and you don't. You don't have to speak Sanskrit. You don't have to do headstands, and you definitely don't have to be a vegetarian. You just have to be awake. So, no, I'm not vegetarian. All right, last question is an update on my hip. Haven't given an update in a while. I feel so much better in my body. I feel like I've returned into my body, and that's hard to explain. I'm working on an article, a blog post article that really talks about what does that mean to have a disassociation with your body, and it comes in all forms and all causes and all reasons. And then how do we work our way back into our body in a way that feels okay? And so for the last 18 months, I've been sort of out of my body. I've been a person dealing with recovery and infection and tests and trials and surgeries. And I've felt very disassociated with my body. And so it hasn't been but just recently, the last 2 to 3 weeks, that I feel like I've kind of stepped back into my body, and I do feel stronger. I feel like my confidence has gained as far as mobility. I'm working on functional mobility, so how I reach for something, how I bend over for something, how I work in the garden, how I get up off the ground, how I get in and out of a chair, how I get in and out of a car. And I'm just more aware. And the thing that has been the best about this last month is I've learned that fear was right in front of me all the time. I was afraid I was going to hurt my hip. I was afraid I was going to hurt. Like whatever movement I was going to do was going to be painful. And so I ended up being very guarded. And then that guarding put sort of a block on my confidence, my ability to do things that I could do. And so just last week, I was at my functional therapy appointment, and she had me step up onto a very low raised up bench. And because I've sort of conditioned myself and my thoughts and actions is that I have to help my left leg do that, I immediately picked up my leg and put it on the bench. And she's like, no, no, take it off and do it again. And again, I lift my leg up with my arms. And she said, let's try that again and don't use your hands. And I had to really think about what I was going to do. And the immediate thought was, I can't, and it's going to hurt. And she could see those thoughts race through my brain. And she said, it's not going to hurt and you can do it. And lo and behold, I stepped my foot right up. It was no big deal. But for so long, I've been guarding it and helping it and kind of babying it that I forgot that I'm more capable than I really am. So, physical wise, I feel better. I still am in incredible pain. I still have a ginormous potato growing on the outside of my leg. It's a huge thing um, of fluid that's on the outside of my leg, and we don't know what the fluid is. So I still struggle. Like it's not gone, and I still have a long ways to go, but I feel more at home with my body, and that has been a blessing. And so the latest update is they aspirated the fluid to test it for a bacteria. I should get the results this week. So it should be Monday or Tuesday that I get the final results. And if something cultured, if they were able to identify a bacteria in the fluid, then that means the entire hip and stem, the implant, everything comes out, which will be a major, major ordeal. And then I'll have a temporary hip for a while they treat the bacteria. If it's not a bacteria and it comes back negative, again, this will be the sixth time we've tried this to figure out what's causing all of this, then the plan is to go forward with creating a graft, and that will be a structure that the surgeon creates to essentially build tissue, a grafted tissue around my hip so that I have integrity around the joint that we're assuming is good, it's stable. And then what they'll do is the graft will help the tissue become strong and keep me stable. So my mobility will get even better. So that's the update on the hip. But I'm hanging in there. I'm doing good and life's improving. My garden's growing and I feel happier. I went through my little period of sadness over my business and then I got busy and I have a whole bunch of new opportunities coming. So when a door shuts, a door opens, and I'm really excited about that. So I have good things coming. My green beans are blooming, my potatoes are blooming, my cucumbers are blooming, my squashes are blooming. Everything is starting. All those seeds that we plant literally and figuratively do eventually grow. So those are the 5 questions. So thanks for asking them. We'll do another Q&A maybe in a couple weeks. So keep the questions coming. Feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on social media. You can message me here. You can email me. Just say hi, and then we'll just keep chatting about it. So take care and have a great day, and I'll see you next week in the garden.